What will happen when a Navy patrol spots something strange floating far from shore? At first it looks like debris, but the closer they get, the more shocking it becomes. Their hearts race as they realize it's not a piece of wood or a boat. Something huge struggles in the waves. The story begins on a warm and peaceful morning along the long coastline of Sri Lanka, where a Navy patrol boat moved gently across the calm blue water. For the sailors on board, it felt like any other quiet day, and they expected nothing more than routine checks and simple tasks. The ocean looked calm, the sky was clear, and everything seemed completely normal as the boat continued its steady path. But as the crew scanned the open sea, something unusual caught their attention in the distance. At first, it looked like a dark shape drifting slowly with the waves. It didn't move like a boat or shine like metal, and the sailors could not understand what they were seeing. They kept watching it because something about the shape felt strange, as if it didn't belong there. Curiosity soon turned into worry as the officers narrowed their eyes and tried to guess what the object might be. Then, suddenly, one of the sailors shouted in shock. The strange shape was not debris and not a broken boat. It was a huge elephant trapped in the open water, struggling against the strong and endless ocean currents. For a moment, everyone on the boat froze. No one could understand how such a large animal ended up so far from shore. Every second counted, and the crew felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on them. Without wasting a moment, the officers contacted the Sri Lanka Animal Protection Center. They hoped for quick advice and instructions while keeping their eyes on the elephant. As they waited, the sailors gathered at the edge of the boat, watching its massive head rise and fall with each wave. Questions ran through their minds. How did it get so far from shore? Did it get separated from its herd? Or was it simply lost, caught by currents that carried it into danger? Answers didn't matter now. Only one thing did, saving the elephant's life. When the rescue team arrived, the sailors could see how exhausted it was. Its trunk rose weakly for air, only to be hit by the next wave. The experts knew what to do, and the Navy divers stepped forward, ready to approach the giant animal slowly and carefully. But then a major problem appeared. The rescuers hadn't brought the proper gear, and the ship didn't have the tools needed to lift such a huge animal. The elephant was too heavy, and the ocean currents were too strong. There was no way to pull it onto the boat. Still, no one gave up. They quickly thought of another plan, one that would take courage, patience, and careful teamwork. Instead of lifting the elephant, the divers decided to form a human chain in the water. They would guide and support the elephant, helping it swim slowly toward the shore. It was dangerous, but it was the only way. The divers slipped into the water, moving steadily toward the tired animal. They stayed calm, keeping a safe distance so as not to scare it. The waves pushed against them, cold and powerful, but they held their positions, their voices soft, their movements slow, and their focus sharp. Soon, the human chain formed a protective circle around the elephant. Each diver moved carefully, keeping a steady distance so the giant animal wouldn't panic. They reached out with gentle hands, signaling the elephant and guiding it with soft touches. The rescue had officially begun. The ocean pushed and pulled at the massive creature, trying to drag it back into the deep. Each wave was a new challenge, but the elephant kept moving, its tired legs paddling through the water. Its eyes, heavy with exhaustion, still held a spark of determination. The divers saw that spark and let it fuel their own strength. The divers' muscles burned from the effort, and the cold water pressed against them with every wave. Yet, no one stopped. They had to keep moving. Every time the elephant slipped or lost energy, the human chain shifted to support it. They lifted and steadied, gently coaxing it back on course. The animal's strength was fading, but something inside it refused to give up. Maybe it sensed the shore was near. Maybe it drew courage from the humans around it. Whatever the reason, the elephant pushed forward. Hours passed like moments, and yet every wave felt heavier than the last. The divers and sailors shouted words of encouragement, keeping their voices low so as not to frighten the animal. They knew the moment was delicate. One wrong move could panic the elephant and ruin everything. Despite the exhaustion in their own bodies, they held the line, matching their efforts to the rhythm of the elephant's movements. Then, slowly, a change appeared. The elephant began paddling with more energy. Its eyes seemed brighter, and its strokes became stronger. The humans around it cheered quietly, careful not to startle it. Hope started to grow in everyone's hearts. They could almost feel the shore calling. The waves continued to crash, but now they seemed less threatening. The elephant, though still tired, moved with purpose. The divers guided it, encouraging each stroke and steadying it whenever it wobbled. They could see the sand beneath the shallow water, just a little further ahead. It was still a long way, but the end was finally in sight. Step by step, the elephant pressed on. Its massive feet touched the sandy bottom, giving it small moments of relief. The human chain adjusted with every step, supporting and guiding it, making sure it didn't falter. The divers could feel the change in the water, the way the waves slowed as the shore approached. The elephant's strength, combined with their careful support, carried it forward. Finally, the first hints of land appeared more clearly. The shoreline was close now, and the elephant's pace grew steadier. The sailors on the boat shouted encouragement, clapping and cheering softly. The divers, exhausted but determined, felt a surge of energy. The elephant seemed to sense the safety waiting for it. Each stroke pushed it closer to solid ground. When its feet finally touched the sand, a wave of relief spread through everyone. The elephant stumbled slightly, but regained its balance with the support of the divers. It lifted its trunk high, taking a deep breath as if it could finally feel the safety surrounding it. The water was still around its legs, but the hardest part was over. With one final push, the giant animal rose fully onto the shore, standing tall on its tired legs. Silence fell for a moment as everyone watched, hearts racing. The elephant had survived. It was safe. A sense of joy and relief washed over the sailors and divers alike. Cheering broke out, some clapping, others laughing through tears. It was a victory born from teamwork, patience, and courage. They had saved a life that seemed impossible to save, and they knew this was a moment they would remember forever. The wildlife medical team quickly moved in to examine the elephant. Its body was worn out, its breathing heavy, but it was alive. That was all that mattered. The Navy officers stayed close, ready to help however they could, while the experts prepared the elephant for transport to a rehabilitation center. Saying goodbye was not easy. The crew had shared a bond with the elephant through the struggle. They had guided it, supported it, and watched it fight for survival. But they knew this was the only way to give it a proper chance to recover. With careful hands, the elephant was lifted into a specially prepared vehicle. The shoreline, where it had almost lost its life, now became the place where it received a second chance. The journey to the rehabilitation center was slow but calm. The sailors followed behind, reflecting on the rescue. They remembered the fear, the teamwork, the hope, and the unbelievable strength of the elephant. Every moment of the struggle replayed in their minds, and with it came pride and relief. At the center, the elephant would receive constant care. Food, rest, medical attention, and time to heal. One day, when it was strong again, it would return to the wild where it belonged. For the Navy officers, the rescue changed something inside them. They returned to their patrols with a new sense of purpose and a deeper respect for life. They had seen the power of compassion and teamwork, and the courage it took to fight for another living being. The story of that day became more than a rescue. It became a tale of hope, bravery, and the deep connection between humans and animals. The sailors and divers would never forget it, and somewhere far away, an elephant was healing, alive because they refused to give up.